Hi, welcome to the first episode of Shady 101. This is a series I've been wanting to do for a little while. I guess a podcast, if you want to call it that. I've been wanting to launch this for a few years now, but I figured this is a good way to give you guys some content throughout the week that's a bit easier for me to make and also just kind of easy for you guys to play in the background while you're doing whatever you do during your day-to-day like activities or errands. Today I kind of just wanted to start this out with a really quick one. We're just going to be talking about like the kind of like almost sudden resurgence of Sonic the Hedgehog in the last few years. I definitely think the first like big sign of Sonic getting a resurgence, even though this wasn't in the most positive way, would have probably been the Sonic movie when it was first like unveiled. I think if you remember, like right around I think it was like the beginning of 2019 was when they showed off the first poster for Sonic the Hedgehog, and you had that like kind of like almost like furry costume looking like Sonic design, and you only saw the silhouette at the time, so I guess you could say like, oh, we didn't know what he was gonna look like, but I think most people could already get a general idea of what was gonna be in store for us. I still remember like I was in high school at the time when that was shown off. I think I was in my junior year, yeah, junior year, and my friends would be like, "Oh yeah, you're the Sonic fan, so we got to show you this," basically. And I was like just cringing at it because like everybody was like already like pointing fingers at it, like, "Oh, I wonder what's going on with this movie. This movie's gonna suck. Sonic's gonna look weird." But that was only the beginning. That was only the very very beginning of the issues with that movie. I remember when the first trailer was like revealed, and we really got to see the ugly Sonic for the first time. Just giving him that name because of that Chip and Dale movie that came out I think last year, and they included Ugly Sonic in that. We're gonna get back to that though in a minute because that kind of goes into this whole topic. But I remember the internet blew up like an uproar over that. Like I mean, we're talking people. Like, we're talking celebrities, we're talking just random people who probably wouldn't even be Sonic fans normally, were reacting to this. It was really a whole thing, honestly, with the hit movie when it first got unveiled. But, obviously the whole entire Twitter drama surrounding the design happened, and the fans clamored for the producers to kind of change it. And Paramount, surprisingly, like, I don't think I've ever seen this happen with any movie in the past, whether it be animated or live action. In this case, it's a cross of both. I've never seen like a company slash production company really respond as quickly as Paramount did, which tells me that they did deep down care about what was going to happen with this film, and they did have some sort of passion for Sonic the Hedgehog, probably to even give us fans the time of day. And during this time, they had a whole announcement like, oh, we're going to push the date back. I think it was like 6 months. I think it was going to release like in the holiday season of 2019, but then it got moved to like the very beginning of 2020, which fun fact, that was the last movie I saw before the pandemic had really started in all the movie theaters, at least like in my state, had shut down because of social distancing and all that. During this time, they had actually hired Tyson Hess, the man that I think did the Sonic Mania shorts for Sega, to do the redesign. And what a smart idea on their part, because this man is an amazing artist, somebody who went to college, for illustration and character design and all that. I think Tyson has a really great like grasp on how to like portray Sonic and his friends. And this project kind of just proved it with how the redesign went. It's still to this day, I still love the movie design. I'm not saying it should replace the video game design, of course, but it is a great design, and it makes it where Sonic, looks cute, he looks friendly, and he looks marketable again. And the movie came out like beginning of 2020, and surprisingly, at least to me, it was a smash hit. Audiences loved it, families loved it, Sonic fans pretty surprisingly loved it. I'll say like I do eventually want to do a full like review of the film along with the second one, of course, in the future on this channel. But just as some of my opinions of the first movie, at least, I think if you haven't like really dipped your toes too much into the Sonic series yet, the first movie is a great like kind of starting point, at least for like a cinematic like point of view from the series. It introduces who Sonic is in a way where it's like easy for audiences to understand, easy for just kind of general people who they might not play the Sonic games, they might not have grown up with him or anything. They make him seem like a very friendly, fun, silly character. And while it's not super heavy on the Sonic lore, and that doesn't happen till the second film, wink wink, nod nod, um I still think it went leaps and bounds above what would have been expected for the series, especially with Sonic, because, if you've been a Sonic fan for any amount of time, I think we all know that Sonic has a tendency to, as much as I love the series, as much as we all love the series, it doesn't always do a great job with, like, how people like review his things. Like he doesn't have the best reputation, or at least he didn't. I think now we're definitely at a much better point than we have been for like the past 10 years. But it was a major surprise to everybody, and it did very well financially, even through the pandemic. And I think during the time it was put on the Paramount, that's a whole nother discussion for another day, though. But I do think this is like one of the main things that really got the ball rolling to get Sonic popular again. 2021 was kind of seen as a bit of a Sonic the Hedgehog drought in a sense, because the only thing we got the Sonic Central, which was like a way for Sega to kind of celebrate Sonic's 30th anniversary for the fans, and also to show off a little bit of what we'd see in the future. And the only like game that came out at that time was Sonic Colors Ultimate, which, oh boy, okay. Now the preface, what I'm gonna say, I loved the original Sonic Colors. I was a kid when that came out, and it's like still to this day one of my like favorite like Sonic games. It's not my all-time favorite. I'm not sure if it's even on the top 10, but it is a game I love to come back to every once in a while. At least the original version on the Wii, or I guess I should say like I like to emulate it with the Dolphin emulator on my Steam Deck, but that's just like little nuances that we're not going to get into. Everybody plays it differently. But Ultimate, when it came out, it had a lot of glitches, a lot of issues with it, things that really weren't excusable considering this was an over 10-year-old Wii game, that was being put out onto very, powerful modern day consoles and PC. And the fans, you know how we are. We made sure to say some shit about that. And some updates did roll around, I guess, eventually, from what I remember. I haven't touched the game, I think, since it first, like, kind of came out, and, like, that, like, first, like, month of me playing it. So don't quote me on that. That's kind of on me. But, again, 2021, pretty slow year, for Sonic. We did have the IDW comics, which are great, don't get me wrong. I'm just not, I think, like, that's not really a great talking point to use, because comics already are pretty niche, and when you mix that in with Sonic the Hedgehog, that makes it even more niche. But anyways, on to 2022. We finally, I believe it was in the summer of 20, was it the summer of 2021 or summer of 2022? I don't fucking remember, but during like we did eventually get like a release like kind of trailer. I think it was the end of 2021, I believe, was when we got the release trailer for what was it? Sonic Frontiers. Now, oh boy, holy crap. I will tell you, I know for myself at least, I was just astounded by it. The concept of a open world Sonic the Hedgehog game, man, I'm telling you, I've grown up with the series since I was really, really young. I've been playing it, I think, since I was probably a toddler at the time. I don't even know. I just remember my first Sonic game being, I think, Sonic Adventure 1 on the GameCube. And, you know, I love the 3D games. I do have a preference towards them as opposed to the 3D game. I mean, the 2D games. Let me reverse that. Yeah. But, I was excited, as anybody would be. I think everybody in the fandom, there was some, like, discourse about that, like, oh, is it gonna be good? It looks kind of empty right now, blah, blah, blah. Eventually, IGN, they did a little, like, inside look at the game, like, it was, like, early gameplay footage back last year, and, it made people pretty skeptical, because the game looked empty. It didn't look as good as we were hoping. But then, we're gonna fast forward from that. There was still a lot of hype around the game. What is it? In between this time, between like the kind of coverage of this game and Sonic Frontiers release, we got the second Sonic movie, which I think I mentioned this before, but I think it is leaps and bounds better than the original movie, as it kind of really starts to mix in a lot more elements of the actual Sonic game series into this movie universe. It introduced Tails to us, and Knuckles especially. Oh my god, Knuckles was fucking great in the movie. I am just amazed by how they interpreted the character, and just adding more like kind of Sonic lore into it. It was great. Just a fun time overall. And we got Sonic Origins, which kind of like Sonic Colors Ultimate, it had a lot of issues that just should not have been there. And this is even like worse, because we're talking the classic Sonic games. These are games that should be very easy to port, shouldn't have really many issues, if any at all. But it got smoothed out eventually. And they did a lot to try to fix it. I feel like mostly it's a playable collection. It's not the best collection we've got. That goes to Sonic Mega Collection and Mega Collection Plus, even Gems Collection if you really wanted to throw that in there as well. Those are great collections that I don't think Origins as much that they offer to touch that, but it's okay. It's fine. Then eventually, we got the release of Sonic Frontiers finally, and I'll say it was a surprise success. It has been a long time, a long, 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 long time since we've had a main series Sonic game that's done really, really well. If anybody remembers, like the release of Sonic Forces, that did not do well. Even if you like Forces, you have to admit that there was a lot of flaws in that game that just shouldn't have been there. It had everything going for it, but anyways, the game was great, and we're not just talking Sonic fans that liked it. We're talking like a lot of general audiences, they liked it too, and it's sold and is still selling extremely well and is doing numbers for Sega. They announced a roadmap for different updates that are coming to the game. We've already got two of those updates. We're just waiting on the third, which will kind of like, from what I can tell, will really complete the game in a sense. And whether or not we get DLC after that is a whole nother discussion for another day. After that, we did get Sonic Prime, a Netflix TV series, back in December, I believe. And that was when we got the first quote unquote season. I know it's not like technically real seasons because the way Netflix does things is kind of weird, where they'll chop up an actual season into like 2 or 3 parts, and which is what they did in Sonic Prime's case. But that too got a lot of great fan reception. I quite enjoyed the first season, and even the second season that came out just not too long ago, like a month ago, I think, this year. Great show. Did it, to my knowledge, it's done great numbers on Netflix. A lot of new fans are probably going to come in from that. It just brings more eyes onto the series. And where are we now, I think? Like, what really got me to talk about this is I think the fact that, like, every time I go into the stores now, I see so much Sonic merch. And I mean, obviously, Sonic has always been somewhat popular with kids, but I'm talking, like, we're seeing clothing, you're seeing little accessories for Sonic, you're seeing Sonic-related food items, you're seeing, obviously the games will be sold at stores, but that's not really the important part, because Sonic's games have always stolen stores. But we have so many toys. Like, if you go to I live in a pretty highly populated city and stuff, and nearly every single toy section of these stores has an aisle just dedicated to Sonic, and it hasn't been like that probably since the late 2000s, early 2010s, at least to my memory. I remember back when the Jazzwares Sonic toy line was around, and that dominated the shelves. But they haven't been making the toys for Sonic in quite a while. It was you had Jakks Pacific and a few other companies now that make the toys for them, and it's cool to see how he's kind of come back. Kids are into him again, parents are into him again, and it's fun. It's really nice to see that. And I guess the only thing I can leave this with is that now we're just waiting for Sonic Superstars to come out and to see a new classic game, but that's not just fully reliant on the pixel art style and all that. I'm pretty excited. It looks like it's gonna be a fun game, and I'm down to play another 2D Sonic game. See what Sega has up their sleeve with this. But yeah, that's gonna wrap up the first episode of Shady 101. I do plan on making more episodes soon in the future. If you have any recommendations or not really recommendations, but what you'd like to see me talk about, just let me know. And if you'd like to join my Discord, I'll leave the link below in my description. I'd really appreciate a subscribe and a like if you are new to the channel. And if you are already subscribed but you haven't hit the bell icon, please make sure to do so. That way you can get notified when my newest videos release. I do everything from comic dubs, animatics / animations, discussions like this. I plan on doing game reviews and some of the Sonic movie reviews in the future, along with some community related videos. Just keep your eyes peeled. Anything and everything Sonic the Hedgehog is on this channel, I will tell you that. Anyways, you guys, have a nice day.